Well, good afternoon and welcome everybody. My name is Sarah Erkinen and I serve as Assistant Vice President for Institutional Advancement here at Augsburg. During today's event, you'll get to hear from President Pribbenow and Augsburg's Athletics Director, Jeff Swenson. And then there's going to be a time for questions, and you can use that Q&A function at the bottom of your screen for that. Today's presentation is being recorded and closed captioning is available for you. I just want to thank you for being here today. And now I'm going to ask President Pribbenow to share a few words.
Thanks, Sarah. Great to be with all of you. Good afternoon. Looking at this beautiful picture of the Hagfors Center, and I was saying earlier to the panelists that I was over there today with a friend for a cup of coffee. We had the whole building to ourselves. So it's been that kind of year where our facilities have probably we won't have to take depreciation for this year because the buildings haven't actually been used that much. And it was a kind of a sad moment, but at the same time, exciting to think about getting students back on campus, having a chance to use these beautiful facilities and to get back to something more normal as we head into the next year. As you know, we've just finished our 151st academic year. We had our virtual commencement. We launched it on YouTube a week ago last night, and it was a festive online version of sending out something like 850 new Augies into the world. And because of some of the changing restrictions, we also will be doing an in-person event for the class of 2020 and 2021 on June 8th at US Bank Stadium. So we're very grateful for the fact that some of those restrictions have been lifted so that we can go ahead and have that celebration in person with our remarkable Augie graduates. So I'm going to just give you kind of a quick overview of a few things and give it over to Jeff so he can bring you an update on Augie athletics. But maybe we can go to the next slide, TJ. So, one of the things that I'm sure you're all aware of, in some ways, the arc of this past 15 months and into the next year, and to think about what that's meant for Augsburg. So, 15 months or so ago, 14 months, I guess, we reached that point where the pandemic had hit and we had to pivot and send our students home and move everything online. And everything was focused in those couple months on just getting to the finish line, getting our students graduated. And we pieced together an online virtual commencement ceremony to send them on their way. But it was certainly not an ideal situation. But we started almost immediately in the midst of that, concluding 2020, and preparing for this year. And this year, as I think most of you know, we had probably, good 90% of our courses were online, some fashion of that modality. We had about 750 students living on campus in the fall, and that dropped to about 600 students living in the residence hall in the spring. But overall, I would just say that to you that in many ways our community rose to the occasion. We did finish strong. We had a limited number of outbreaks of the virus. We had a great group of staff and faculty that were working very hard to, even when we did get an outbreak, to step in and make sure that we were able to respond to that. We ended up doing a lot of testing on campus. And of course, in the last few months, we've been really urging folks on the vaccine. And so trying to really get prepared for, again, this kind of return to campus that, in fact, is really part of our planning right now as we prepare for 2022. It still will not look what we would all think about as normal for Augsburg. Not everything can be in person in the same fashion. We know there will still be some restrictions, though less than we might have imagined even a week ago. But we really see next year as what I'm calling an on-ramp to our sustainable growth. And this is very important for us to lift up because this is actually a part of a planning process that goes back a couple, 3 years now, which led to the adoption of our Augsburg 150 strategic plan, which we'll see here in the next slide. And just a reminder, this was adopted just in October of 2019. TJ, if we can go to the next slide. And this plan has been the framework for our work during this past year. So even in the midst of the pandemic, as we were responding to all the challenges that the pandemic and all the other challenges that we had with the George Floyd murder and with the economic disruption, we really had a chance to do important work throughout the year because this plan had really framed out our work. And I always like to point to that vision statement, which says that we educate Augies as stewards of an inclusive democracy engaged in their communities and uniquely equipped to navigate the complex issues of our time. And that last phrase for me, could we imagine a more complex set of issues that we are actually sending our graduates out into the world to respond to. And our claim that we are actually equipping them to lean into those challenges is something that we are very proud of. And then to think about the three broad strategies: strengthening our three-dimensional education, advancing the public purposes of an Augsburg education, but then in particular, the growing as a sustainable university. That has actually been the focal point for our work over this past year. And I'm going to share just a few pieces of that here later, but I'm so proud of our faculty, staff, and students for the work they did this year, even in the midst of the pandemic, even as they were forced to pivot to a whole new way of living and working and studying. They still leaned in to the important work of preparing and equipping Augsburg for its future as a sustainable university. So let's go to the next slide. And I just want to talk a little bit about this past year. We have this kind of wonderful mosaic of pictures from the year. Going back up here in the upper left hand, that happens to be me in this case, but it was a group of faculty and staff who spread out across the Twin Cities last summer to deliver these signs to our incoming students, because we did not have in-person summer orientation. So we went to them. And here I am delivering one to a young woman, incoming student, and we did that across the Twin Cities. And it was a great way to make that connection. We did have people working on campus. So you see the enrollment services folks there. They were on campus. Some of the student-facing offices stayed open throughout the year. We had activities, as you see in the bottom left there, with our students out in the quad when it was possible to do that. Of course, our students were actively involved in a lot of the protests that were going on across the Twin Cities in response to the racial injustices that we saw so prevalent in our community and around the country. I want to point to this amazing faculty member on the bottom with the face shield on. That's Dr. Alicia Quella, who is the head of our physician assistant program, but also is an epidemiologist, and she became our real guide this year. And to have that person on our faculty and to have her expertise was just was really a significant gift to all of us. You see the small picture there, a group of us out in the quad singing Silent Night. Perhaps you saw that at the end of our wonderful Advent Vespers virtual presentation from last December. And then, of course, in the upper right, the ways we were able to keep our student athletes engaged, not in the ways that we necessarily would have liked, but for them to be able to practice, to have seasons of different durations, was so important. And Jeff is going to talk about, I think, how important that was to our student athletes, who represent a pretty significant percentage of our undergraduate population. So let's go on to the next slide, TJ. I want to share a little bit about the good news about enrollment for next fall. So if you recall, 2 years ago, the fall of 19, at the beginning of our 150th anniversary, we had the largest entering class in Augsburg's history. So we ended up with 636 new students. Last fall, we had the second largest class in Augsburg's history. We ended up about 550 students. As you can see from this slide, this is information as of today, I guess, or yesterday, that shows that, in fact, we are running significantly ahead of last year's numbers to date at 574 deposits for first-year students. And this is remarkable news, because this is recruitment that was done by our admission staff almost all entirely virtually. And so this is just a sign that Augsburg continues to be a destination point. Students want to be at Augsburg, and they want to come and live on campus, and they want to be a part of this kind of remarkable community. So we do believe that we will come in right around 600 entering first-year students, as well as about 150 to 160 transfer students, making it, again, the second largest class in Augsburg's history. So good news in terms of what that represents about the trajectory that we're on. Let's go to the next slide, TJ. Excuse me. I go back to the fact that this plan really in many ways framed the work that we've been about. And I'm going to share with you on the next slide, TJ, just a couple things that I really am proud of. One is this, we created a task force with regents, faculty, and staff called the Grow Sustainably Task Force, and they met about every other week between November up until the end of April. And they have made a set of recommendations now that are really around key areas of revenue growth for us. And they have to do with our undergraduate population. They have to do with retention efforts, bringing students in and having them retained at Augsburg. It has to do with our graduate and our working adult programs. And so some really exciting work that has led to some very concrete recommendations that will be implemented beginning this fall. And then the other thing that I want to lift up is that task force on academic structure. This is a group of faculty that have worked with Provost Kaivola over the past couple of years and have now come forward with a recommendation that we will create a two-college structure under the context of the Augsburg University. So we will have a College of Arts and Sciences, and we'll have a College of Professional Studies. And then within those colleges, there will be separate divisions and things. So this is a really important move because we realized that as we changed our name to university, we did not respond to the fact that we had become a very complex place with lots of different programs, graduate, undergraduate programs, lots of different kind of academic majors, as well as separate programs. And so many ways, this structure now allows us to account for that complexity in a way that we think will mean that decisions are made by people who have the best understanding of the issues that can actually respond to the needs of our students, our diverse students, in a variety of ways. So very excited about how that two-college structure will unfold here over the next year or so as we move to that new model for Augsburg University. So I think that is the quick update that I wanted to provide, and I believe we can go to the next slide. I think we moved. Oh, I got to say something about philanthropy. Sorry, we got you on the call here. So I'm going to say just a little bit about you would think in a year when we couldn't really go out and visit donors and things that we might have some challenges, but I'm just here to tell you that our advancement staff and our alumni leaders and our board members have just stepped forward in some remarkable ways. As you know, we're in the Great Returns campaign, which was part of our 150th celebration, and we've now reached 100 new endowed scholarships through that effort. We've raised money for very specific purposes, including the Critical Race and Ethnicity Studies Scholarship Program and the program itself, which has now will be established starting next fall. As you can see from the numbers up in the maroon box there, we had a great Give to the Max day, of course, with 41 different projects across campus, including many in athletics, and just great success there. And then in particular, I want to point to those final three bullets. For me, this was a sign that our alums and friends really understood some of the key focal points, some of the key strategic points, and some of the deepest needs that we had this year, and that is student emergency funds. We were able to meet the needs of many of our students who were housing insecure or food insecure or didn't have monies because of challenges in their families with losing jobs and the like. I'm also so grateful for the fact that almost $500,000 has been raised for the President's Strategic Fund, which has allowed me to actually pick projects that I think are most important that perhaps we didn't have funding in the operating budget to support, and we've been able to do a whole variety of things this year as a result of that. And then finally, I'm so proud of our Augsburg Women Engage, the AW group, that has specifically focused on raising funds for our campus cupboard, which is the on-campus food pantry that really, again, meets the needs for many of our students who are food insecure. And so I'm just so proud of how our alums and friends have just leaned in to these key needs that we've had as we keep our community vital and healthy and safe. So thank you all, those of you who participated, but I just want to lift up this good work. And the truth is the Great Returns campaign, it continues. So we've I think closing in on $66 million, the largest campaign in Augsburg's history. And again, a lot of money raised over this past year, even in the midst of this pandemic, and some really remarkable gifts that have been given to help us to keep the momentum going there. So now I believe it's time to turn it over to Jeff, if I remember right. So Jeff?
Great to be here with you this afternoon. For those of you that are tuning in from afar, it's about a 65-degree and sunny day today in Minneapolis. I've given a version of this talk to the A Club and to the Board of Regents in the past, but I've mixed a few things up. To tell you a little bit about what's coming up, I have to go back around about a year in order to provide you a comprehensive athletic department update. I'm going to give you a perspective of what the lives of our students and staff have been like. I might add, there was no manual on how to direct an athletic department during a pandemic. This was all work we did almost daily. It's important that I go back to when the athletic staff started to come back to campus, but it was last July. Athletics began reopening our facilities probably earlier than any of the other facilities using all the COVID protocols. We wrote what seemed like several different reopening proposals that were approved by Paul mentioned our epidemiologist, Alicia Quella, and our COVID-19 response team, Rebecca John. We opened these facilities one by one: our fitness center, our weight room, our gymnasium, locker rooms, dome, wrestling center, ice arena. And to ensure the safety of all these facilities, we had to staff them. That was something that we hadn't had to do before. They were on fob access. We were able to come and go as we pleased. But our coaches, assistant coaches, and grad assistants volunteered to supervise these facilities on a daily basis, which amounted to about 250 to 300 hours every week. And in order to keep these facilities open, that was our only option. At our peak time, we were supervising facilities at 420 hours per week. This was in addition to our coaches leading their teams, recruiting new students, and retaining the students on their current rosters, which was really a catch because in many cases, because of the athletic competitions being in limbo, our coaches had to re-recruit the athletes on their current teams. And I'm happy to say that we had about a 90% retention rate. Last fall, the NCAA gave all teams 114 practice days, a critical move, great move to allow teams and student athletes the opportunity to be together. Usually, we don't even have half that, but we could practice all year long together, even if we couldn't compete. Later in the fall, when COVID numbers spiked, the NCAA canceled fall sports championships, leading to what I would call more anxiety for our student athletes and our coaches. After the NCAA canceled fall sports, our conference came in. The MIAC, the Minnesota Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, moved fall sports to spring, meaning football, men's and women's soccer, and volleyball were able to have a shortened season this spring. And that was a big deal to keep those athletes and coaches happy. We did have a complete pause for all sports. If you remember, on November 18th, Governor Walz had an executive order. There were no practice or competitions allowed during this time. All athletic activity was postponed until January 4th. Then we had to stagger our teams coming back, to return to practices. Our winter sports went first, and then followed by our fall sports and spring sports. But they were incredibly challenging times for us because usually we have a fall sports season, a winter sports season, spring sports season with a slight overlap. We now had 22 teams at once practicing and competing. Since January, our student athletes, in order to be safe, our student athletes have tested for COVID every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 a.m. The NCAA then canceled all winter sport championships on February 3rd. However, our winter sports were able to have an abbreviated season, even though there were not NCAA or MIAC championships. Our spring sports are currently finishing up their competitions. We should be done in the next week or so. Changing gears a little bit, but not really. From a recruiting standpoint, we track things quite specifically, and we have had over 700 campus visits. A quick update on fundraising. We had a very successful Give to the Max campaign, thanks to the collaboration with Institutional Advancement. Paul was mentioning Give to the Max. Athletics had 15 projects that totaled over $117,000, which we were told was roughly 25% of the total dollars raised for Give to the Max. We had 726 donors that gave to our 15 projects, which was approximately 43% of the total number of donors. So we're really happy about that. As you may recall, it seems like a long time ago now, but phase one of our phase 3 athletic projects was our new state-of-the-art sports medicine facility, which opened in the fall of 2019. It was a $1 million facility that was totally fundraised by 190 donors. Now, phase 2, which we're currently in, is our new women's locker room. This will be completed in the summer of 2022. It includes 10 private team rooms, renovated shower and new laundry facilities, and all women athletes will have their own private team room and personal locker for the time that they are here at Augsburg. And phase 3, which will be completed in 2024, will be our new men's locker room. We currently have over $600,000 in cash and pledges for our women's locker room project and over 80 donors to date. And this project is estimated at about $750,000. I'm going to do a quick rewind on you now. And I think what's important to remember is the year that we had going up to COVID until COVID kind of shut everything down in the March of 2020. At that time, 6 of our 7 team sports made the playoffs. We had 3 teams in the MIAC championship game. We had 3 MIAC players of the year. And our winter sports teams had the best overall winning percentage in the MIAC. That being said, the last 4 years have been the best 4 years in the history of Augsburg University athletics, and we're very proud of that. Also maintaining a 3.31 cumulative grade point average for all of our student athletes. We know these are challenging times due to the uncertainty of what lies ahead. All of our lives have changed, and the way that we've done work has changed as well. But what hasn't changed is the focus on, I believe what hasn't changed is the focus on our student athlete experience. Our coaches, staff are keeping their nose to the grindstone, as they say, by continuing to recruit new students to their programs and retaining the students that are currently in their programs. Speaking of this coming fall, we're full speed ahead with our plans for fall, barring anything unexpected. We're planning for full fall sports schedules to be played in all 8 of our fall sports. In closing, I'd just like to say how proud I am of Augsburg University. I'd like you to know that everybody here is working incredibly hard to make this upcoming school year possible. It makes me really proud to be an Augie. And with that, I say, go Augies. Thank you. And I think it's back to you, Sarah.
Well, thanks, Jeff, and thanks, Paul. We are going to take some time for some Q&A. And first, the question I see here from Doug Path is a question that I hear very often. Will Augsburg plan to require vaccinations for students and staff this coming fall 2021? And Paul, maybe you can answer that question.
Yeah. No, it is the hot button question at the moment, as you can imagine. We have not made a decision yet. In fact, we're having a series of conversations right now, listening to different audiences, faculty and others, and how they feel about this. You know, in general, I believe that in fact a pretty large percentage of our students, faculty, and staff have already gotten vaccines. And so one of the things we're doing right now is figuring out how we can actually capture that information, because we think the best thing would be to strongly encourage it, make it as accessible as possible. We have done vaccine clinics near campus and have had a variety of ways for folks to be able to get those. We're in a zip code that allows our folks to go over to the fairgrounds. And so I think, as folks may know, Hennepin County is already at 70% overall. So we're feeling pretty positive about where we stand. We're also going to do vaccine clinics at our summer orientations for incoming students to make it possible for them to get a vaccine, probably the Johnson & Johnson one shot that would be available. So at this point, haven't made a decision. I would just say to you that, and folks on this call know this, you know, we're not really a mandate kind of place. And so we're a strongly encouraged place, a place that makes a case for having each other's back. And so I think in many ways, that's what we did with testing going this past year. And we're very fortunate, I think, with the results throughout the year. And I, you know, at the moment, again, kind of leaning in that direction, saying we are going to strongly encourage. And if we don't have a mandate, we will certainly continue also to do testing, because, you know, in many ways, you have to think about what the mitigation opportunities are. Vaccines one, testing is another, you know, masking and social distancing are the other. And so you have 3 options. And I think, you know, in some combination, we will probably have all 3 of those as a part of our plan going into next fall. Now, I will make a quick comment about athletics, because we do have a different set of requirements for our student athletes. NCAA and the MIAC are right now thinking that we will require 85% of teams, both student athletes and the coaches, to be vaccinated in order to participate. Very similar to what Major League Baseball has done. And so there will be subgroups on campus that likely will have mandated, mandated vaccines. And so I think that you'll hear more about that probably as the plans for the MIAC roll out for next fall. So
okay, thanks, Paul. This next question, I think, is a question for Jeff. It's about fall sports, and will we be able to come and cheer on the Augies live?
Yes, in fact, we are allowing spectators right now for spring sports. You know, we are not allowing spectators indoors, but I surely anticipate that we will have spectators indoors if if things go as it looks like that they'll go, like Paul said, with the vaccinations, and I think we're getting COVID on the backside of us. So I do anticipate even indoors having spectators. Yes.
Thanks, Jeff. And maybe, Jeff, you could talk a little bit about any kind of accommodations that were made by the NCAA for seniors who had their athletic careers cut short by COVID this last couple of years.
That's a great question. All seniors this year did not count. It didn't count as far as the number of semesters that you participated, and it did not count as a year of eligibility. So everybody that was a sophomore or a junior or senior are the same, can be the same class as next year. Another thing that the MIAC did was allowed, and this is really good for Augsburg, it allowed students that are going to graduate to participate their final year as a grad school student. You know, and next year they are able to compete and not be full-time students. If they want to participate in athletics, they can participate having 6 credits or less each semester.
Great, thank you. I don't see any questions right now in the Q&A field, but something that I've heard from Augies when I meet with Augies is they're wondering, what have we learned this past 15 months that might be something that we find valuable enough to continue as we move forward?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and it's certainly utmost in our mind as we've come out of this year. And you know, I think there's no doubt that we will not simply go back to things as normal, because we have learned important lessons. You know, one of the things we heard, for example, from a group of faculty who spoke with our board members a week or so ago was they found being able to do office hours on Zoom to be a much better way of staying connected to students. So, you know, as opposed to that 1 hour, you know, Tuesday afternoons that they're available, going to set up Zoom conversations at a variety of times, and so they really have a chance to be in contact, you know, more regularly with students because of the technology. I would imagine that we will see the use of technology for some of the conferences and things that people would normally have traveled to. I think that we found actually attendance to be higher at some of the national conferences when they were able to access things through the virtual, you know, means. I think I would say that there are even some events at Augsburg that work better through the use of Zoom than try to gather folks. On the other hand, I would say that, and I just really want to be clear here, I mean, for me, Augsburg is about community, and it's about community in person. And so, so I don't think we're going to be like other places that might, you know, go more fully online. It's still important that folks have that kind of face-to-face opportunities, which is really our leading principle going into next fall. So even if we do have to make certain restrictions and have certain restrictions in place, we still want to make sure there's a critical mass of opportunities for students in the classroom, in organizations, you know, in things like athletics, music, to be able to participate in some of those things that are just, you know, so special and such an important part of the Augsburg culture. So.
Yeah. What about you, Jeff?
Well, Paul stole all my thunder, because I would certainly say that, you know, being able to do some things remotely was actually quite effective. Mm-hmm. You know, we found that, but I think what we learned more so than anything was, you know, we took for granted how important it was for teammates to be able to get together in person and have practices and be able to strive for their goals with each other. You know, and not have that taken away from them. We do not take anything for granted any longer. You know, we cherish every moment that we get with our teams, with our coaches, with each other. You know, and the desire to be in person, you know, has not left us, and that's the Augie way. You know, I mean, you know, I recruited for 25 years to, you know, to athletics and to the wrestling program, and we always talked about Augsburg being about the people. And sometimes being about the people is being in person with the people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jeff, I was on a call with you rather recently where you said that in all your years here at Augsburg, this has by far been the hardest. And I know that probably won't come to a surprise to anyone, but what do you and the coaches do to take care of yourselves and to take care of one another?
We tried to get together weekly. You know, we had department meetings, usually once a month or once every 2 weeks, depending on the time of the year. We met weekly, religiously met weekly, just to be able to be together and share and talk. From a standpoint of it being my most difficult year, I found out that you don't do a lot of self-analysis until you get to go through a pandemic. But I found that I'm kind of a fixer. I like to fix things. And it was hard to fix things through a pandemic. And I like to say yes to my staff. I like to figure out ways to do things. And I think I said more no's in this year than I have in my previous 40 years here. You have to say no because you can't practice because you're being contact traced. You just had a positive test, whatever it might be. It was really devastating to our students and staff to have to go through what they went through, and it was the unknown. We just didn't know what we were going to wake up to each day.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions in the Q&A field or in the chat. So I think we can probably wrap this up here, but I wondered if either one of you want to just say something in closing. We have a lot of really supportive Augies on this call, and wonder if you just want to say something to them all before we wrap up here.
Yeah, I would, certainly, and Jeff can add this, but I want you to know that, as we had our kind of nose to the grindstone here, trying to slog our way through this year, and in all the ways I think that Jeff, pointed to, whether it was fear and anxiety people had about the virus, the kind of unknowns, just to be quite honest, by the end of the year, just the exhaustion, having to teach and learn in completely different ways, what gave us great hope and what gave us, great, sort of a gift to us was the fact that we knew that there were people out there who cared about what was happening at Augsburg, people who inquired, people who, again, supported us financially, who, had us in their prayers. And as we come out of this year, I mean, for me, this is the end of my 15th year at Augsburg. I mean, that's the genius of the place. That's the spirit of Augsburg that, yes, in the midst of a pandemic, but really at all times, I mean, we are so grateful for what you do for us. And just as Jeff said, we will never take for granted the importance of the community at Augsburg that we had to sometimes, put aside here this past year. So thank you for all of that.
I concur. I'm proud to be an Augie, and you can be too. Augsburg has done great things through the pandemic to make the students as happy as they could possibly be during this, and to have a great student experience while we went through the pandemic. Thanks for everything, everyone.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Paul, and thanks, Jeff, and thanks to everybody who could be here on the call today. Hope you have a great afternoon.